Welcome to the record player, everybody. 30 years ago in 1993, a little record was released here in Canada from an Australian band, and it absolutely exploded. The happy acoustic pop sound of Frente was a huge contrast to the grunge rock that was ruling the charts at the time, in large part thanks to the beautifully sweet voice of singer Angie Hart. They are currently celebrating the 30th anniversary of their milestone record, Marvin, the album. I am thrilled today to be joined in the record player by Frente founders Angie Hart and Simon Austin, all the way from down under. Thank you for joining me, guys.
Pleasure.
Hi, thank you for having us.
It's a little early there, so thank you so much for getting up early. We've already had our day. So here in Canada, it was Labor of Love, the EP that started the ball rolling for us, and then we kind of went backwards to Marvin. It was songs like Ordinary Angels, Accidentally Kelly Street. I know you guys are obviously a little biased on this subject, but what is it? What do you think it is that has made your music and this record specifically stand up so well over time? 30 years is insane.
I was thinking about that. And it's nice of you to say that it stood up over time. That's a nice thing to hear. I think that we didn't, for whatever reason, whether it was we were just a bit naive or innocent, we didn't really approach it as part of like a genre of music or with any specific idea about how we wanted to sound or what kind of scene we wanted to be part of. We took the things that influenced us and the things that we loved about working with each other and just made a record out of them. So it's not really anchored in a time or place. It's a sort of it's got bits of rock and bits of pop and bits of folk music and bits of classical music and stuff like that. So we weren't sort of tied to a scene. And so it does in a lot of ways, it does stand up over that period of time.
Oh, it absolutely does. When Accidentally Kelly Street was a single here, I remember thinking, first of all, well, Australians obviously can't spell. That
Yeah.
became that became a thing. I heard the story that you guys knew that was wrong, but it stayed.
Yeah.
Whose decision was that to say, let's just keep it the way it is?
Okay, well, I did spell it wrong, and that got to the art department, and they thought we'd done it on purpose,
Oh,
which is great. and then it stuck. So it was by the time it got past me, I'm sure the rest of the band knew I'd spelled it wrongly, but everyone must have thought that I was being ironic, but I actually just spelled it wrong.
Yeah, it's like post-dated irony.
yeah, exactly. Now I've heard Angie that you've had a bit of an on and off relationship with that song.
Yeah, well, it's 30 years of playing that song, so you do go in and out with these things. But I think the popularity of the song at the time, in radio here, it wasn't very imaginative radio. They thrashed it and they played it to the point where you come out the other side, like you love it, and then you don't love it anymore because you hear it in every supermarket and chemist and everything. So yeah, we did have a time of wishing we'd stopped playing it for a little while, and wishing that it wasn't so blown out. But I feel like it's kind of regained its meaning again now. I think that's what happens when a song becomes so huge. You don't hear it in that same way, and it just becomes annoying. So it's lovely to have it back.
It has regained its meaning. I think it's been it's people it harks back to a time for people when they heard it, and then they've introduced it to their kids, and so we play it now, and it's just a really happy moment, joyful moment.
How did the fans like? Are they there? They're there to hear certain songs, right? What was the fan reaction when you took it out of the set?
Mixed.
Well, they probably felt some of
Yeah.
them probably felt the same way, I guess. But did you ever have any issues with any other song? Was there any other song that bugged you so much that you stopped playing it, or no, just that one?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple that I mean, I don't know about you, Angie, but there's a couple from earlier records that I kind of feel like we didn't do them justice, or there's one called See Believe, which I have trouble with because when we wrote it, we were completely different people. We were young, and it was a really, really different time. And so it's sort of jars now. It hasn't really made the journey into the present. So there's those things, but for the most part, the songs that you write, they have such a meaning to you, and they go through periods of time, and they become more and more fun to play, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
When you two formed Frente in the late 80s, from our standpoint here in Canada and here in North America, Australian music was, Olivia Newton-John and Andy Gibb first, and then
Yeah.
and then it turned into Bee Gees and Men at Work and Midnight Oil and NXS. That
Yep.
was you brought a bit of a sorry.
That's some good music there.
100%. You guys
Yeah.
brought a bit of a different sound to Australian music for us. What were the influences for you guys when you were, starting out as a band and writing music together for the first time?
Oh, so many, and a lot of influences that you wouldn't guess. I mean, Angie and I bonded over hip hop music. So we bonded over things like Nana Cherry and Public Enemy and stuff like that. But also, I mean, we have yeah, exactly. We just have a massive list of influences, and a lot of them, sure, they're the predictable ones you'd think, like folk music, Joni Mitchell, of course. Yeah. And also, I mean, with me, a lot of it, I grew up listening to a lot of things like Midnight Oil and things like the Bee Gees and Olivia Newton-John, like an ABBA. Um, so I just so many. A lot of British new wave music, New Order, massive New Order fan, of course.
We'll get to
stuff like that. Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, Susie and the Banshees and things like that for me. And you can weigh in.
Yeah, well, you're naming a lot of my favorite bands as well. So definitely, yeah, Nana Cherry was a really big one at that time, and
oh yeah,
Public Enemy. A lot of Australian bands that we were getting into at the time. I mean, I
oh
was
yeah,
definitely on that list.
Go Betweens.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, I listen back now and I can. It's like at the time I didn't know some of these bands were influences, but I can hear it in our music and I look back. It's like that's exactly what I was listening to.
One of my most memorable concert experiences, being here in Canada, obviously, was you guys were involved in it, but it was two of our Canadian, biggest Canadian artists, Alanis Morissette and Our Lady Peace, I think, and you guys, and it was I was at that show, and I worked in a record store at the time, so I had already, Marvin and I was a big fan of you guys, and then seeing you guys open for them, it was a big deal because Jagged Little Pill was huge here at the time, everywhere at the time. You guys toured the world, and for those few years, and worked with so many people. You're showing up on MTV, you're doing all these different things. Do you look back now and have a bit of a different appreciation for it, for those times, and all that touring and traveling and all, and being on the radio, being on MTV? Do you look back on that now and have kind of a bit of a different appreciation? Because at the time you're kind of in it, right? And you're not really, maybe not appreciating it as much as you do now.
Yeah, I think when you asked before about the longevity of the album, I think one of the things about that was the time and place. And I think we were really lucky where we fell in when the record came out. They call it that golden triangle when you release the album and it comes out exactly when you're on the road and getting played on the radio. And it was also a particular time in the 90s where people wanted to hear something fresh. I think, Alanis broke through during that time, and it was coming out of grunge, and there was this new voice of people wanting to hear different expressions and different ways for things to be done. So I feel like that moment when we were touring and we got all these, we just happened to hop on the road with Alanis just as she's releasing her major album, and we went on tour with Crowded House through Europe when they released Woodface. It's like these amazing moments where, touring with they might be giants and everything, but the girl at these really big moments in their careers. And I look at that now, it's like these were just incredible, lucky breaks for us as well.
I think you're absolutely right about did you experience it as well as you could have? I think that we were so busy that we missed it out on kind of really going, wow, this is an amazing thing. Um, but this time around, we're definitely taking a lot more time to sort of go, oh, we're here, we're doing this now, and just to enjoy playing and to enjoy writing. Whereas that time it was such a rush. It just happened in such a rush, and you're on an airplane. You're at a show, you're on an airplane, you're on a show, you're at an airplane, you're in a show, and it's like, well, what just happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
We said
spoke.
yes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say we said yes a lot. Like that was that time when there were so many great opportunities and you feel like it's never going to happen again. And so you say, oh, yes, we'll do that. And you end up saying yes to it's like we had no boundaries at all. And I think that's something that's definitely changed now. Like we're doing it at our own pace and just really enjoying it.
I've spoken to so many people over the years who have said, yeah, I've been to China, but I never saw the Great Wall. I've been to wherever, but I never stopped and saw this. I never saw the sights. I never went out of the hotel, but I've traveled the world.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, seen a lot of car parks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about two songs in particular that I want to mention. The 90s was a big decade, and I still haven't quite figured out why, but the 90s was a big decade for tribute records and things like that. Albums that one of the best ones though, and I still have it. I've yet to find it on vinyl. We're big on vinyl here, but was the Saturday Morning Cartoons album. Which was amazing. I mean, you look at the lineup on that. You had Violent Femmes, Liz Phair, Matthew Sweet, Juliana Hatfield doing Josie and the Pussycats, and then you guys doing the Flintstones, Open Up Your Heart and Let the Sun Shine In, which was great and perfectly suited for at the time for what we're listening to your voice on that song. When you guys go in and do a record like that, do you get to pick the song that you do, or do they ask you in and say, we've got this and we think it'd be good?
In that instance, it was that there was the guy who was producing the record, a guy called Ralph Saul. He had a list of songs and a list of people that he matched up. So we didn't get a choice to do it. And they came out to Australia to record it. And we went to the studio, and we were sort of we went in and we kind of wanted to make it a little bit strange and eerie. Because it's a song it's a sweet little cartoon song, and we sort of wanted to put a bit of a little bit of a dee, 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 slant on it, and they wouldn't let us. So because I mean they were making a tribute record that was was important for it to go in a certain direction, and that's fine. So you generally, I mean, for us with the stuff that we've covered, it's generally our idea that we've just done it. Nobody was that Tom Waits record that we did, was that a different thing, or did we just choose that and put it to them? Do you remember that? Ruby's Arms?
Okay, we chose that song,
Yeah, which is actually my favorite Frente cover, is Ruby's Arms, which I think is amazing as a song. Tom Waits, amazing. So, and we got to do that, which was incredible. But anyway, getting back to that, no, it was a record that was put together in the classic fashion, where an A&R person goes, "We're going to do this, and I'm going to go out to all the artists and get it," and that's what they did. Turned out well, though.
Oh, 100%. It was perfectly suited for you guys, I thought. But I mean, the Ramones doing Spider-Man. I mean, Jesus, that was, it was an amazing record.
I know.
This brings me, of course, to, I said we'd get there, Bizarre Love Triangle, which here at TRP, we have a lot of conversations and discussions. And whenever we start discussing the best covers, it always, not in any necessary order, but it always starts and ends with Hendrix doing Watchtower, our own Bare Naked Ladies doing Bruce Cockburn doing Lovers in Disturbed doing Sound of Silence, Johnny Cash doing Hurt, and you guys doing Bizarre Love Triangle. It's always in the top 5. Sometimes you guys finish first, but you're always there whenever we have
it's amazing company to be in, so thank you.
100%. It's not uncommon to completely flip a song, for somebody to completely flip a song and make it totally different than the original. You guys managed to do that, but at the same time keep really the same, the same, the meat of the song, and keep it familiar. Um, do you even remember why you chose that song? Was that a you thing, or was that a them thing? Was that a record company?
That was an us thing for sure. So that's a big favorite of Simon's. But on the day we were just doing some B-sides, so we wanted to have some extra songs to throw on to EPs and singles in case that time came up. And so this was one that Simon brought and said, "I love this song. Let's have a crack at this." And I think really, all the credit goes to New Order because it's such an incredibly written song that when you strip it back, it's all there.
Mm.
So yeah, we just did an appreciative acoustic version of it, and yeah, we were very lucky. Once again, right time, right place. That it was a B-side on Labor of Love, and we started doing college radio, and thought they'd play the song on the other side of the single, and started getting phone calls, and that was the start of our touring through the US and Canada.
Was that was the B-side of Labor of Love? No, I don't. I didn't even remember that. I remember it being huge here. I mean, the two songs were huge here, but I didn't realize that it was the B-side.
It was. I mean, it's as Anne says, it's just an incredible song. It's an incredible song, and for a long period of time when I was in my, I guess, late teens, it was that was my favorite song. And I'm a massive New Order fan. And Bernard is a really, really interesting guy, and a very human, sort of heart on his sleeve person. You don't often see it beneath all the layers of electronics, but his songs are so gripping, and that is one of them. And I think it worked because we didn't have any expectation out of it. We just went in and did it, and we got out of its way. And of course, it just worked really well. I think it was one take. We just did it, and it just sounded great. And we're like, yep. So,
do you have to ask them, or is that something that like, do you have to ask permission to do their song? Did you meet them and have to get anything permission from them, or?
No, that was handled. The label handled all that. I mean, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission always. So, as the saying goes. But I mean, generally they're not averse to things like that. But once it began to be hit, they were like, absolutely, take it away. And we haven't had direct feedback from Bernard about it, but apparently we heard through the grapevine that Peter Hook thought it was fantastic, and everybody was that the band were really happy about it. And so, yeah.
We're when it was the 20 years or the 21 years of Marvin, you celebrated by going out on tour, doing some shows. You re-released the record with some other additions to it. What do you do now? I know you just announced the 30th anniversary and doing some touring. What's next for Frente? What's next for Marvin? This is one of my favorite records. It never leaves my turntable, to be honest with you. How do you celebrate 30?
Yeah, well, we've just been getting to know each other again. I think the longest amount of time that we haven't played together. So from the 21st to the 30th, we've definitely done some things together, but not a lot. And I feel like this has been the most fresh that we've been together. Like I think we kind of come back from really different angles of our lives. And Simon's been in the workforce, and I've just finished a solo album, which I'm about to release, and we've both done these really big projects in our lives, including children, they're big projects, and brought that to
big projects.
Yeah, they're great albums. Yeah.
Yeah.
And come together to get to know this album again. It's really interesting talking about it. The questions you've been asking have been really pertinent for us about how we feel about it now, because I've never really done such a review of the album as we have this time, and of our relationship. I feel like the whole thing has been, I feel like I'm really starting to get the nuts and bolts of this thing. And so we're going to be writing some new songs together, which we've started having a crack at.
That was my
been programming. I just before I got on this, I've been madly programming and getting myself reacquainted with studio work. So we started that journey. We started the journey of the next record, and we have a bunch of skeletons of songs, and you know, it's that's super exciting. We're working with some fantastic people too, for the live thing, which I am having the time of my life, having the best time I've ever had playing music with Ange, and we've got three new folks in the band, um, Sophie, Ben, and Tamara, and they are just absolute guns. And we've been playing around. We've been playing some festivals and a couple of our own shows, and it's just the band sounds fantastic. Probably the best it's ever sounded. So yeah.
Okay, well, check off that one. New record.
Yep.
um, right
Yeah,
now.
so we're working really slowly. We want to just work really slowly. I mean, I have to, because I was, as Anne said, I was in the workforce for 15 years. I went out and did the corporate thing, and so now I'm building a studio and to do this and to do some other projects. But yeah, we want to really, find out what that thing is. So yeah.
You're doing the shows in Australia right now. Is there any plans on expanding, going anywhere else, going across Europe, or maybe even to North America?
Well, there's no plans, but we've started to talk about how to do it. So our intention is absolutely, and we just have to find a way. I think it's probably going to be post making this record, because we have, because of the economics of it, we we got to make another record to do it. Or you never know what happens in the music game. Somebody may just say, "Come over, and here's how we're going to do it." It's, stranger things have happened, and they've happened a lot to us. So that, we don't know the answer to that yet, but we've started with the conversation, and we are coming. Yes.
That's awesome. Angie, do you know when your album is out, or
Well,
is that
hopefully this year, but I'm on the last mix next week, so still have to master it, and yeah, and then work out how to put it out. So um, this year or early next year, I'm not sure. Yeah, but it's done. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Great stuff for us to look forward to. It was an absolute pleasure having both of you with us in the record player. I want to thank you so much for getting up early. I mentioned we've already had our day. We're done. We're ready to go to bed. You guys still have a day ahead of you. So I hope you have plans, and we didn't get you out of bed. It's been a pleasure for me, and I know there's so many Frente fans here in Canada. They're going to be happy to have you guys back. It's been great. Marvin, the album, 30 years on my turntable alone. Hope to catch up with you guys on 40. If we're
Definitely. Well, I would say certainly before that, and just like, thanks so much for having us, and everyone in the Great North. Thank you very much for sort of staying with us all this time. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Take care of yourselves. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.